Welcome to the Your Destiny show. I'm very happy to be here. Today is another exciting and interesting day. You know that here, okay, those that have not watched my show before, today or usually on this platform, what I do is I share resources, information, of course, educative information and informative resources to just educate business owner, SME, small and medium-sized enterprises or small and medium-sized businesses. And I just do my best to help them thrive. Of course, this is just an educational platform, and always make sure that I tell everyone that you should always seek the advice of a professional, right? So that they can actually tailor to your exact needs, right? Again, this is general information, right? So I wanted to thank everybody that has logged in or watched or, been part of this program, and also those that have actually given constructive criticism, which is good, or kudos to people that actually like the program. And really excited to be here again today. All right, so today I also have another very interesting topic, and my topic today is 10 ways to create successful, achievable goals for your SME. Right now, I've spoken about this before. I've spoken about um, how to create goals. I know I mentioned SMART as an acronym, and the SMART was what? SMART was making sure your goals are. I'm sure I want to make sure that I'm getting this, the measurable, the M is achievable, specific is the S, measurable, attainable, or achievable, specific, smart, SMAR is make sure is it's something that it's um I'm just getting, but um, it's something that is smart is specific, measurable, achievable. It's something that it's really, should I put it as reliable, related to what you are doing, right? And then of course it's timely, right? So I'm looking at achievable goals, successful achievable goals for your SME. Yes, yeah, sorry about that smart mix up. I know it very well, but sometimes, sometimes things happen, all right? And so let's focus on the achievable goals. A lot of people set goals, but they are really creating a path that is not achievable. So yes, we know the SMART acronym. So I'm going to zero in on achievable goals, right? How can your goals be, you successfully achieve your goals? How do you successfully achieve your goals, right? So we're creating 10 ways to create successful, achievable goals. I know it's a long one, but it's very important. It's not just those goals that are achievable, but you know that they're you're looking towards success, right? The very first thing I would say is that make sure that you tie your goals back to your mission and your vision, right? Of course, I mentioned this. I hope you've watched my program where I talked about stating your mission and vision. You have to know what your company is all about. So I know some SMEs, they just say, oh, it's not a big deal. Yes. It's many large companies that really set up and say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to I'm going to dabble into that as an SME. But no, you have to let people know what you stand for. What is your mission? What is your vision? What do you stand for? You have to make sure you let people know that. Okay, so your goals, your achievable goals, right, must tie back to your mission and your vision. That's how you achieve your goals. I mean, you can't say that you're let's say a green company. You're like green, everything green. You know what that means? Everything is like everything is about sustainability of the environment, right? And you think and if you put your goal as something that is contrary to that, that's not achievable because it's not in line with your mission and vision, right? The vision of your company. So to have a successful, achievable goal, you have to really look at, right? The achievable goal must be tied to your mission and your vision. So if somebody comes and says, you know what, this is what I'm planning to do, you need to really say, is that really tied to my mission? Is that really tied to my vision? So on your own side, you're going to make sure that people know what your mission is. People know what your vision is. Then you can say, okay, this goal is tied to that. If people don't know what your mission or vision are, if they don't know both of them, then okay, how can your goal be tied to your mission or your vision and your vision? All right. Okay. So the next way to create successful, achievable goals is to make sure that your goals, which is your achievable goals, must be clear. It must be clear. It must not be ambiguous. Your goals must be clear, right? Like, I mean, how do I say clear? If you say, oh, I'm going to do well. We're rounding up into, I mean, this is 2023. And we're rounding up the year. We're almost in the 11th month of the year. This is 10th month of the year. We're moving to the 11th month of the year. And you might say, okay, one of your goals might say, oh yeah, I'm going to do well. I'm going to be successful in 2024. What does that really mean? What is that? Is that, I mean, that's just ambiguous. Yeah, it's good to be successful, very good. But what are you trying to say? Are you going to be successful in getting more clientele, getting more customers? Okay, you see what I just did? From successful, I actually said clear. I'm just telling you exactly what I'm looking at, right? I'm gonna look at really in decreasing my expenses, because my success is because my expenses are way out there. And if I can reduce my expenses, I'm going to increase profits, right? So these are clear cut, achievable goals. And of course, they are going to be successful because they are really clear. There's nothing like, oh God, oh, this is just yes, is just a blank, or it's just a statement there. Yes, being successful is a good statement, but that is not clear. It's not really what are you going to do? What's happening there when you say I'm going to be successful? Your goals, the achievable goals must be clear, very, very clear. All right. Um, the next one is concise. Goals must be concise, not only clear, but concise. What are we talking about concise? We're talking about, I gave an example of, okay, oh yeah, this is awesome. I'm going to reduce expenses, right? Are you going to reduce expenses across the board? What are you actually looking at? Are you going to increase customer, revenue? How are you going to, you're looking at customers. What are you doing? What are you going to do? Well, clear, yes, we're going to make sure we have customer engagement. What are we looking at for customer engagement? It must be exact, concise. I'm a very, okay, I like statements that, I would say that, yes, it's good to have fluff. When I say fluff, I like go straight to the point. I'm not saying that I like having fun, with friends and things like that. But when it comes to getting things done, I like straight to the point, goals. I like things that, okay, this is what we're going to do exactly. I like concise goals, right? And those goals that are concise are achievable goals. Achievable goals must be concise, right? When something is concise, there's not a lot of fluff. Think of it. Think of when you are writing your exams and they had questions for you to answer questions, right? Whatever exam you're writing or test, sometimes I've seen people write pages and pages and pages of that to respond to a question, and another person writes just maybe a page, and the person that wrote a page got a higher mark than somebody that wrote 5, 7, or how many pages. So I've seen cases like that, but generally, conciseness. When somebody's concise, something is concise. You know that this is exactly what you're looking at, right? We can say a clear goal is to, as I said, increase customer presence, like having more customers or clients. But How are you going to do that? How are you going to, maybe you want to foster customer engagement? Awesome, right? Concise. How do you do that? I like, okay, I want to foster customer engagement by doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Isn't that concise? I want to, these concise. Yes, the goal is, yes, is not ambiguous, because you said, I want to foster customer engagement, so that concise. For example, one of the points might say, so when a customer gives a feedback, somebody will respond to that feedback, or a change will be made. Response could be responding on the or social media, or a change can be made, and that change can be shared with other people. Right? Isn't that concise? That's actually customer engagement. And the customer might say, oh my goodness, I actually just said this and they actually made that change. And the customer will actually feel like part of the company, right? So who would like to shop in a place that makes them feel that, okay, what they say is heard. What they say, what the customer says is really taken in and it's acted upon. All right. So concise. All right. Another point, remember, looking at ways to create successful, achievable goals for your business, right? Another goal, right? Achievable goal is, for a goal to be achievable, it must be what? Measurable. Measurable. Your goal must be measurable. I know it's still in the acronym, the SMART, but we can tie this to even, achievable goal. You can tie that together and say that, right? You want to achieve your goal, right? A good, successful goal, relating it to achievable, right? Achievable goal you want to achieve, right? Remember SMART. SMART is just setting goal, and the R is for realistic. Realistic goals, yes. So, I know I said reliable, but it's realistic goal, right? Yes, it has to be realistic. So, yes. So, when you look at this, you say, okay, is it measurable? The achievable goal has to be measurable. Let's look at it. Maybe you talked about, let's use the example that I used about customer engagement number. Let's say achievable goal of, think that is clear that, oh, this year in 2023, we want to increase customer engagement, right? Because we know increase in customer and client engagement will lead to increase in revenue. So you're very excited. I say, yeah, that's what you want to do. Okay. So you want to increase customer engagement, then concise. One of the things you want to do is that when a customer makes a suggestion or gives a feedback, you actually take it seriously. You respond to that feedback. And, in addition to responding to the feedback, you act on it. So that's something that is concise. But I will not say act on it. That will come later, because that's one of the other points. But for it to be concise, measurable, right? We're not now. Let's look at, how do we measure that? Okay, how many customers did we give feedback? How do we, then there's a way we measure it. Okay, did we respond to this? Did we implement this? That is measurable, right? That is measurable, right? I'm talking about customer engagement. Now, we could use any kind of aspect, any kind of example. We can use any kind of example. But I really want us to really look into one example, because as I said, there are many, but I just wanted to use this just as a way of, being practical and really defining, how, your goal can be successful, it's achievable, and a successful, achievable goal. All right. Because if something is not measurable, how do you know? How do you know? So it has to be measurable. How do you know that you're actually meeting the maybe benchmarks, or let me say, or what you set out to achieve? All right. The fifth is achievable goals must have a strategy to achieve them. All right. A strategy to achieve them. Right. So yes, concise means that straight to the point, right? Straight to the point. But we can tie that concise to the example I gave. Remember, I said strategy. How do I achieve customer engagement? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A couple of points out there. How do you reduce expenses? I mean, I know some companies that said, okay, one thing we see that the snack bar that everything was for free, we decided to do away with that because most of our employees are working remotely, and we just decided that that cost could be avoided. So with that reduced our expenses by that amount, right? By a certain percentage. Remember, so what is your strategy? That's an example of expenses, right? We talked about client customer engagement, right? So what is your strategy? What are your strategies? How do you want to achieve this? What are the strategies that you're actually using, right? So successful achievable goals must what? Have a strategy to achieve them, right? A strategy. So I gave some examples. So the next point, that's the fifth. The sixth point is that achievable goals must have an implementation path. Okay? When I talk about implementation path, I'm talking about resources and personnel. The personnel could only be you too. It could be only you or you and one staff, or you have only one person working with you. And that's fine. Or it could be only you could be the only person, but this is also very important for you as an SME, because I know that sometimes SMEs have only one person working in that company, which is the owner of the company. All right. So when we talk about implementation, right, let's go back to our example. Okay. Customer engagement, right? We're talking about engagement. Somebody is, let's say, responding to social media posts, right? And implementing that. Now, I know that sometimes owners want to do everything, but if you do not have the time, there's nothing wrong with having somebody to actually look into the feedback, right? To say, okay, what can you do? What are some suggestions, right? So if it's something that you can't do because of everything that is going on, you have so much to do, then think of it. You must have an implementation path, resources, and personnel. You already said you have a strategy now, because I've seen cases that so many people come up with strategies. Oh yeah, we can do this, we can do that. It's good to come up with strategies. There's nothing wrong with coming up with strategies, but how are you going to implement that? How are you going to achieve it? You need to know how much it will cost, resources. You have to make sure that you say, okay, maybe you can't you can be on top of social media. Maybe you can okay, say if I hire someone to look at this, maybe a couple of hours a week, couple of hours a week. How much would that cost you? How much would that cost you? So it's not only having goals that are tied to your mission and vision. It's not only having goals that are clear, concise, measurable, and you have a wonderful strategy. If those strategies are not implemented, then there is no need to there is no need to have those goals, right? There's no need to have those goals. The goals have to be achieved. They have to be implemented. Achievable goals must have an implementation path. You have to implement that. And implementation includes, right, the resources, the personnel. How are you going to do it? All right. How are you going to make that happen? Right. And I mean, sometimes people, I am very much into SMEs looking at the avenue of outsourcing. I believe it's a very great path for SMEs to go, to go into, or to take advantage of, I would say, because the path of outsourcing is much cheaper than having someone on staff, right? It's much cheaper. So if you have limited resources, think of outsourcing. There are people that can say, you know what, I'll respond to your social media, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this, I'll take this load off you. You just have to make sure that that the person that says that they're able to do the job, the person is effective. Because sometimes people that outsource, sometimes they have they they might have a lot of customers and clients. So you have to make sure that your customer, that your client, right? That they have, the client that they have is not overshadowing your work. Okay, so achievable goals must have an implementation. It has to be implementation path. All right. So make sure that even if you go with outsourcing, the person is a very good, effective individual or company that's doing that work. All right. So again, make sure that when you're outsourcing, you're not going to something that that um that that will not serve your purpose. Okay. So this is still part of the implementation path. All right. So resources and personnel. All right. So you might be the kind of company that you already have people working with you. You have people that are already in place. Fine. That's great. But you have to actually make sure that the strategy matches with the implementation, right? Related with to the resources and to the personnel, right? Make sure you do that. Okay. Now, the next point, which is point 7, achievable goals must be what? Cost effective. Okay. Now, when I'm going to step back a little bit to the number 6, item 6. Now, when you look at this, when I say must have an implementation part, resources and with resources and personnel. Now, if you're actually, for example, outsourcing, and it's so expensive to outsource, right? Yeah, it's so expensive. You want someone to just respond to social media here and there. You go and get a renowned marketing company. Now, to get a renowned marketing company to do that, there's nothing wrong with that. Renowned, let me make sure I clarify that. Renowned, there are small marketing companies that are actually renowned, and they are very cost effective. That's not what I'm talking about. There are some marketing companies that have a budget and say, you're on budget, they can't accept anything below this budget. No matter how good they are, right? Which I know they are, I believe they are good. You should make sure that that your cost is not beyond the goals that you are doing your best to achieve. It has to be cost effective. So make sure that you're looking at the cost associated, right, with these goals, right? Because we talked about in number 6, I talked about implementation part, resources, I talked about, the personnel. But, as I'm emphasizing that outsourcing is a great way to go, it's important for you to look at the cost of either outsourcing, bringing specialized personnel, but I know that it's difficult for you to do everything on your own. It's very difficult for you to, when you want to achieve such goals, it's difficult. But if you can, I've seen people that, in fact, that they do their best to allocate time. If for example, I'm going to use this customer engagement. I mean, that again, you can use any example that applies to your company. So some people might say, you know what, I'm going to actually make sure the first thing I do in the morning is to respond to customers' social media. They might, before I start anything, they start their day by the first 30 minutes, they respond to social media. And if there's anything they need to address, if anything they need to address regarding feedback or changes, they keep that aside. But as when it's regarding response, in this case, it's different from scheduling your social media posts. No, this is different. This is feedback. Is different. It's feedback. You need to be, doing your best to be on top of things, right? So some people can handle it, but some people can't. But again, as I said, achievable goals, right? You have to strategize, and of course, implementation. But then, as I said, cost effectiveness. As you implement, as you look at resources and personnel, please look at the cost. It's very important, right? It's very important for you to know how the cost filters into everywhere, right? It has to be effective. It can't be too expensive for you to implement those, achievable goals. Okay. The next one is, your goals must not be an enormous block, right? It must not be an enormous block. What do I mean by that? It can't be something that that it's so huge. You can't, you say, okay, yeah, I want to achieve these goals, and it's like, okay, there's no, you should be able to break them down. You can, most of the time you have financial statements that they break down a yearly. Sometimes people even look at their weekly trend. It's very important for you to break down your achievable goals. It can be something that is, like we said, customer engagement, right? Although we said it's, we have some concise things, but it's something that you should be able to not have something that says, okay, this is what I'm going to do in the whole year. You should be able to say, okay, week or monthly, I'm going to check, or it should be broken into different stages, right? Different stages. So that really is really a great way to go, because you see it, you see the progress, you see what you're doing over a period of time. All right, and so it's not good for you to say, okay, this is I'm going to achieve this, and there's no, it's just like something that is just an enormous block of a goal that is very enormous, without say, okay, let me break it down, let me have milestones. Okay, so really make sure that you don't make it like in something that is so huge. All right. Okay. The next one is, of course, I'm not saying huge is not good to be enormous at the end of it, but you break it up, right? You break it up, right? Right. It's like the way people build houses. I'm using that as an example, right? Foundation first, then they put. I don't know. I don't want to. I know there are engineers out there, so I'm going to tell you how to. I just get into the house. I don't know what they put first. The drywall. I don't even know, but there are stages. So think of that when it comes to what are the stages. What are the things you need to do as work to achieve those goals, right? How do you break them up into milestones, right? So that you can get to where you want to be, right? Okay, so let's say, for example, you might say, okay, I want to have an 80%, 90%, okay, or maybe double my customer size, double my 100% increase within by December next year, right? So are you going to measure it by the end of the year, or you're going to say, okay, because of 100% increase, I'm looking at measuring in such a way that I'm averagely plus or minus, right? 10% is going to be 120% increase. So you know that your buffer, it may be, because 10, so maybe you might start by, okay, maybe the first quarter, I want to start by a 5% increase, right? Then from there, you go up until you get to your 100%, right? You see what I'm saying about enormous block of saying, oh, I want 100% increase in my clients till by December. Are you saying, are you going to wait till December? No, you're going to say, okay, let me see what will happen in Q1, right? There are 4 quarters, right? 25 can be 25% increase in every quarter. You might say 25 increase, or you might say, okay, the first quarter, let me see where I go, maybe 20%, then you spread the rest, right? The 80% in the last 3 quarters, right? It depends on how you want to do it, okay? Or you might push it so that by December, you just have 10% increase for you to achieve the 100%. All right. Okay. The ninth one is achievable goals. What must be checked? You have to check and see, have you really achieved those, successful achievable goals, right? The achievable goals is the A in the SMART. A in the SMART. So you have to continue to say, okay, yeah, I want to check, fine tune. I want to check. If not, I fine tune it. Let's see if it's better. Okay, I said 100%, but I'm seeing that maybe it could be 80, right? I'm fine tuning it. Okay, or maybe it's 120. I'm fine tuning it. You're checking the quarter. You're checking, right? Wherever you need to fine tune it, you fine tune it. That's the ninth. You fine tune your goals, right? Fine tuning it for it to meet. Like, you want to make sure that your goals, you successfully achieve achievable goals. How do you create successful achievable goals, right? For your company, successful, right? You continue to check. Is there somewhere you need to fine tune? I thought I was here this time. No, we can change it. I mean, it's okay to change. It's okay to fine tune here and there. It's okay. There might be maybe your fine tuning can even be an increase or a decrease depending, right? But at least you're doing something. You see that maybe 100% might not be achievable. It's okay. Let's look at 80. It's still good. You're still 80% increase. It's not bad. Okay. Okay. So you keep on making changes. You still fine tune it, right? Fine tune it. Okay. Because, if you don't fine tune goals, you can be frustrated. And if you're frustrated, you can't successfully achieve your goals. It's not going to happen. All right. Okay. Then finally, right? Achievable goals must be communicated to everyone, the personnel, anybody in charge. You need, because sometimes there are changes. You cannot leave anybody hanging. Great lines of communications, very important. Communication, right? Now, if you're the only person in your company, fine. But if you have people working with you, it's very important for you to be transparent, right? Maybe you see that, no, achieving 100% is not 100% increase, for example, and you don't tell this your salesperson, right? And your salesperson is, oh my goodness, right? And even feeling somehow because your salesperson not reach where, the goal that you all set in the company, right? Let them have input, communicate, have an open door policy, speak to your team, let them have open lines of communication. Is very important. All right. Okay, so those are, the 10 ways. As I said, they always say this as much as possible. I'm sure that more than 10, 15, 20. What your number. But I'm just saying that this is what I feel is a great way to set your goals up for as you even conclude the year, or even as you start the next year. I know people might say, but we're already at the end of the year. Anything can happen. If you still have goals, just push it a little bit further, right? I've seen people that still achieve things before the end of the year. You understand? So, but it doesn't mean that your goal should not continue setting it even, so when I say anything can happen, I'm not saying anything can happen, just saying it. People think, oh, it's not like I'm just saying anything can happen. No, you have to be proactive. Remember, one of the things I said, and I usually close with this, you have to be intentional. Success is an intentional thing. You can't be successful and just, you can't be laid back like a disco and be successful. That's not how it works. It has to be something that you are intentional about. You have to be intentional about your success. Okay? All right. Let's go to our questions. Okay, let's see our questions for today. Okay? All right. So the first question, okay? In my staff meeting, do I inform everyone of plans for the company or just those handling the responsibilities? Well, I would say, usually SMEs are small, have few staff. It depends on how large your SME is. If your company or your business is that large, well, you could actually look at those that are handling the responsibilities. But generally, I really feel that that everybody should know what's happening. Now, specific responsibility is different, I would say, but it's great for you to tell the whole company, this is the goal. This is the goal for the company in the next few months. This is the goal for the company in the next this is what that maybe you might say that we're going to have a structure. We want your input. Is there anything you want to say? Every employee loves that. Loves to say, okay, yeah, hear that. Okay, they want my input, and if at the end of the day you cannot use their input, the time, just be very grateful and so thank you, this is awesome, but at this time, you know what, we want to look at something else, but thank you for even suggesting this. Be very appreciative, because you know what, you are the CEO of the company, right? So they get salary, you get the big bucks. So you have to, if somebody is helping your business succeed, make sure that that they're involved in the business. So my answer is I mean, small companies, yes, it's good to tell people, and even if it's a larger company, let people know what your plans are. Now, specific plans like, okay, so like for example, someone that is going to be engaged in the social media response, that doesn't have to come to the floor. You can say that, oh, we're planning to do better in customer engagement. If you have any ideas, let me know. But the person handling the responsibility would have to know the intricacies of how to, improve customer engagement. All right. Now, the next question we have is capital issues continues to be a problem. I have bad credit, so I cannot get a loan. What can I do? Okay, in this case, I would say that do your best first of all to fix your credit. That's what I would say. And I would say that I would ask you, what is it that you need capital for? Okay, first of all, I would ask you that. But that's why, as I said, this is just for general information purposes, educative purposes, because I would like to see questions like, okay, what do you need capital for? What is it that is specific? Now, if you say, oh, I want capital to market, I would say start with organic marketing. Start with organic marketing. Please watch my show on organic marketing. Start with organic marketing and see how that would work, with you, because I feel that you still get clients. Organic marketing, it depends on what you do. You could actually go to an event and, show that you are present there. So that's one of the things you can think of doing, right? All right. So another, that's one of it. I said that's an example, but I really don't know what you need. If it's what do you need the capital for now? If you need capital for raw materials, you might be able to enter into an agreement with someone and with someone that supplies that raw material and say, you know what, could you just give me a try, and see if there's a way that you could, example, if you're a baker, you can, try and see if you can get an extension when in paying for maybe flour, in large quantity of flour, and when you bake, you pay, right, when you sell, right? For example, as I said, the baker, this is the season, but again, there are a lot of ways around this. Another thing I would say that you could actually go and check small business loans, find out from the SBA if there's any small business loan that you can take advantage of. Because in this case, right, maybe you're talking about conventional loan, but small business loans that you can take advantage of, that is one of the things that you might want to look at. Then another thing that I would say is that things I would say is, well, I'm hoping I'll have to read this because I'm hoping that I'm hoping the sound went well, but I'll check it. Okay. Another way that you could actually look at is at an S corp. And another question here is that I have heard that an S corp business structure is better than a C corporation. Is this correct? Now, I would say that please go and watch my show. My actually two things. I believe I don't have a show on this, but because I have a training video on this S corp business structure. So I would say take the course, because S corp business structure is different from a C corporation, but I wouldn't say what is better for you because I don't know the facts that pertain to your industry, to your company. All right. So I would say that you have to make sure that you talk to your professional to find out what works for you. I know that S corp business structure is lower taxes, but it might not be the structure for you for so many reasons. Okay, so I will not tell you to go with an S corp without knowing all the facts, right? Just to step back a little bit on the capital that I just want to go back to the question because I I have something to add. Um, I mentioned the SBA loan, right? But I also know that there are so many resources out there, so many um, low credit rate loans for small businesses. SBA is one of them, but there are so many out there. And with wherever you are, I mentioned this before, that SMEs are the backbone of so many country's economy. I mean, so many. And so I will say that talk to your professional and see if there's anything out there for your company, right? See if anything is out there for your company is small and medium-sized enterprises. Sometimes even it depends on your field. I don't even know which field you're in when it comes to looking for capital, right? I mean, of course, even if you're in the service-oriented field, that might be an area you might look for. There are so many ways, right? And so I would say that talk to a professional to see what works for you. Okay, I needed to go back there to really clarify that. The next one is that, can I change my LLC to an S corp and an S corp? Of course you can. You can do that. That is a very clear answer. You can change your LLC to an S corp. You can change your LLC to a C corporation. All right. I hope we all know here that an S corporation, right, is what? An S corporation is a tax structure, and LLC is a legal structure. I want all of us to understand that. A C corporation is also a legal structure, but an S corporation, again, is a tax structure. So I want us to make sure we clarify that. An LLC and a C corporation is structured at the state level, but an S corp is at the federal level. So yes, it's possible for you to change an LLC to an S corporation. All right. Okay, so I believe that's the question for today. I hope you got something. Hopefully the sound was working well. But if something happened to the sound, I will repeat this next week. If somehow something happened to the sound, I will just have to repeat this program, this show next week. Okay, then again, thank you as always. Okay, we still have some time. Let's see if I can take one more question. Let me take one more question. Okay. Let me see. Let me see which other question that do we have that I can actually take the. Okay, I think I've taken this question some time ago, but I will just in case you haven't watched the program, I would add that the question is that, is an LLC, is it necessary for me to register my business as an LLC or even as any other structure? Well, I know that a lot of people register their business as doing business as DBA, but an LLC is a bit different. It's not as a bit, a huge difference with an LLC. Why is it different? Because an LLC protects you from personal liability from if the LLC has a liability or owes debt, they can't come after you, right? It protects your personal assets. So that's the big thing about the LLC. So I tell people all the time, I'm just starting. Yes, you're just starting, but get an LLC. It's very important for you to have that. All right. It's very important for you to at least have an LLC. You might want to be a corporation, that's fine, but at least have a structure in place, a registered structure that will protect your assets. All right. I know that people even go into trust and everything like that, but we're just going to try our best to limit this because I don't want it to be too complicated for people that are not accountants to really get into this. Of course, at the end of the day, you have to speak to a professional. All right. I hope you got something today. As I said before, it's so important that you're intentional about your business. If you're not intentional, then it doesn't work, right? If you're not intentional about your business, then, it doesn't work like that. So I'm very happy to be here. And of course, I know that you could have spent your evening or your afternoon or even your morning doing something else, but you actually decided to be part of this program. And, thank you for being part of us here. All right. So I'll see you next time. Again, to be successful, to thrive in your business, you have to be